Thanks so much, Richard. And we'll be keeping an eye on that medal going around. Make sure that was a focusing either. No way. Next up, we're excited to welcome Chief Randy Ermineskin and Dr. Wilton Littlechild. So Randy is the current chief of Ermineskin Nation, elected to a 3-year term from 2022 to 2023. And he's also served as chief in 2014 to 2015 and was first elected to council in 2001. Randy served as the Grand Chief of the Confederacy of 26 First Nations from 2016 to 2017, representing 15 First Nations and advocating, protecting, and enhancing the Aboriginal treaty rights of the country, international, provincial, and local levels of government. As an athlete, he competed in a variety of sports, and was one of the first Indigenous hockey players from Maskwacis area to play junior and semi-professional hockey for over 25 years. He's committed a great deal of his time to coaching. He's always trying to motivate others involved in sport, follow a wellness lifestyle. Randy is also an avid hockey supporter and helped raise the need for the memorial movement. And we also have Dr. Wilton Littlechild, who is the pioneer role model, organizer, and advocate for Indigenous sport in Canada. Wilton has worked tirelessly over the 5 decades to create new opportunities for Indigenous countries. Notable examples of the many events and organizations he has helped establish at every level of competition include the North American Indigenous Games in 1990 and the World Indigenous National Games in 2015. Wilton continues to promote Indigenous sport as an important component of reconciliation, community building, and enduring expression of cultural identity, offering young people in particular a way to honor the blessing that is peacefully and then combine it with mental, physical, and cultural so that a wholesome foundation for life. Athletic pursuits Wilton have hard work and dedication to develop and fulfill his potential even in difficult circumstances. These lessons have shaped Wilton's approach to higher education. I think I'll leave it at that. You know that they both have so many accomplishments in movies as well. So just a big welcome to Dr. Wilton Littlechild and Randy Ermineskin.
I'd say, no, maganda. Iganga killed them, no. You know, I know, I send in a big or you might soon, Maskwacis. May can more tell see us. They were open our rehome, Saudi. Maga, Samato Gamgo, Kaki, got simple on the other side, see us. It's a back yoga in us now. I bring you greetings in my language, Cree, to introduce myself and also to acknowledge the traditional owners of these territories, the beautiful lands we're on, and also including the waters and the mountains, all our relatives. I wanted to It's a good workout for you. You don't want to do a push wrestling with me after that. Anyway, as I was saying, I was introducing myself in my language, Cree, to first of all acknowledge the traditional territories we're blessed to be on. Thank you to the hosts, to the volunteers, those that have worked on this pre-COVID and now to be able to meet again in person. It's just a blessing. So thank Richard, first of all, for his contribution to sport. We met years and years and years ago. And on his example, Chief, my brother Randy, we thought we'd organize a wheelchair basketball game at home on the res with some dignitaries, other sport athletes. So we had this a basketball game, thanks to Richard and one of his friends and colleagues in sport, John DeLonge. Anyway, I was supposed to be one of the official, in quotes, dignitaries. So I thought that shouldn't be too bad, you know, I can sit on his chair and wheel around and play the same. As you know, if you ever watched sledge hockey or wheelchair basketball, there's a bit of contact in the sports. But anyway, what I was going to say was I could not believe how difficult it was for me to actually, I don't know how many sports I've competed in, but 3 for sure. Got in the shoots and I got close to the net. Thought, okay, here I go, I'm going to shoot. I couldn't even hit that net. My ball just went like that. So I admire your abilities. Thank you for your contribution to Paralympics. I'm also an ambassador for the Olympic Winter Games and the Paralympic Games. So I just want to add on to Richard's story a bit. Since 2010, I've been to each of the Olympics and Paralympics, in particular the Paralympics. And he's very right. I want to make an observation. The so-called physical disabilities, persons with disabilities in Canada, we did a recent research in our community, which you'll hear about after by my daughter, Dory, and others. The level of physical disability in Canada for Indigenous people is 69% of the population. So if it's that high, why are we not in the Paralympics? Why are we not in the summer and winter events that exist out there for persons with so-called disability? I think sometimes they're the ones with more abilities than us that are blessed in a different way. So I want to share 2 stories with you this morning. Last week, I was at the United Nations speak in the declaration, because years and years and years ago, and I know Fran and Chief Ermineskin will remember, we started off with a much chief declaration on sport that went national. So last week, I introduced another declaration. You have to forgive me because I'm going to read it. See if you find yourself, if you may find yourself in a position to agree with it. It's proposed by the World Indigenous Nation Sports International Organization, the WIN Sports. And we use that intentionally, WIN, WIN Sports, because it's uplifting and it's positive. So you can imagine if we phone our office and the receptionist picks up the phone and says, "Good morning, loser sport organization." But also in our language, Cree, we always say, "You're born Cree, you're born to win." Because if I say four words, I'm going to ask you what's common about that. We choose to win, which is to help each other. Hoping to win, to lift each other up. You are both to win, having good relations with each other. Sagi to win, we love each other. So what are the last 5 letters in those Cree words? It's to win. To win. Sagi to win, win to win, Winsi to win. That's why I say when you're born Cree, you're born to win. Anyways, I introduced this resolution, declaration last week. I'm not sure what will happen to it. I understand the Commonwealth Games want to come back to Canada, and they want to come back with a desire that Indigenous peoples not only lead the games but drive the games. And it's one thing to say sports led by Indigenous peoples, but it's quite something different to say they're driven by Indigenous peoples. So along with Chief Ava Hill from Chief Nation, drafted during the Victoria Conference on Sports last year, his declaration. It's a sport declaration on reconciliation and participation with Indigenous peoples. Sport is an ideal learning ground for life's essential skills, and especially for young people. Sport is universal. Occasionally, sport is the opportunity that saves people's lives. Participating and having access to sport is a right that belongs to every person. And this declaration affirms and progressive those rights for Indigenous peoples who are strong and resilient, connected to their land and culture. Through a spirit of openness, truthfulness, peace, reconciliation, collaboration, and partnership. And in accordance with Articles 2, 3, and 31 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the parties to this declaration commit to engage in a process of developing the path forward, respecting, protecting, and promoting the rights and opportunities of Indigenous peoples to support, and in particular, the legacy and plan and delivery of games. In drafting this declaration, the representatives of Indigenous communities reaffirm their right of self-determination. The American Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People, adopted without a vote by the Organization of American States, General Assembly 24th session of June 2016, Article 3, reminds all stakeholders and rights holders of their roles and responsibilities, including under international law, regarding the holistic well-being of Indigenous peoples. If I can pause there, well-being in Spanish, they translated into being well. But I thought that was very curious to couch it in those terms, well-being and being well. And I think that describes the holistic perspective that we have of sport in terms of the four elements of life. The physical, mental, cultural, and more importantly, spiritual. So the action we're calling for, the parties to this declaration call for 10 actions to promote inclusion, education, health, developing, and peace through sport. Number one, promote a holistic physical, cultural, spiritual, mental well-being, and life skills benefits of sport to Indigenous peoples. Collaboratively develop inclusive and sustainable sport development for Indigenous people. Thirdly, support and invest in sport development activities for Indigenous peoples with particular focus on coaching, youth mentorship, infrastructure, and community cohesion using methods that are Indigenous driven. Fourth, to advance knowledge and create research and development opportunities on Indigenous peoples, culture, history, and sports, particularly with respect to traditional games and how sport can be used for reconciliation with Indigenous people. Fifth, provide physical education for all Indigenous children and include Indigenous sport, physical activities, and traditional games in the schools and sport programs that are Indigenous driven. Sixth, for sport events, including international sporting events, ensure that Indigenous peoples are equal partners in the bidding, planning, delivery, and legacy of sport events. So I mentioned that in particular because of the desire for the Commonwealth Games to be returned to I was involved with the bid committee for the Olympic Winter Games to be brought back to Calgary, but unfortunately we didn't win the bid. I won't say what's in my mind that I should be saying about that, except that it was very disheartening and disappointing because it would have been the first time that Indigenous peoples would have not only led but brought the Olympic Games for the Summer Winter Olympics and the Olympics. Both sporting events in the Indigenous community and ensure those events create positive social, economic, and environmental impacts for Indigenous host communities. Celebrate Indigenous athletes, like all of you in the room, cultures, languages, and history. Two examples, for example, of our World Indigenous Games, where we make it mandatory that the games are environmentally friendly. The first World Games that we had in Brazil, the athletes' village were in huts in Brazil, so that there was no environmental damage or footprint left behind because the huts were dismantled right after the games. When we hosted an Indigenous ship in 2017, the athletes' village were teepee. So the teepees, as you know, can be put up and taken down once they're real easy because you have to know what you're doing in a sense. But again, there was no environmental footprint as a result of the games. So the World Indigenous Games have been observed as the most environmentally multi-sport event in the world right now. So I think that's a pat on the back for the people who organized Indigenous events or sporting events, especially in our community. Recognize, celebrate, and respect Indigenous people's territories and protocol. That was a call to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that we just embarking on follow up. Encourage Indigenous youth attendance at sporting events because it's sometimes just being able to watch an event that encourages a young person to want to participate. Include traditional Indigenous sports into sport programs, engage regional and national level Indigenous games in the most cultural appropriate way. And I want to thank our brother who took us, or taking people into the water here. As, for me, water, and for Chief Ermineskin as well. The only thing we know about water is an explosion we dig on it. You know, it's not to be swimmed. Thank you for taking us those tours because there's a certain skill that our people have, that they can understand now, go around the world just following the stars by canoe or by boat. And that's just amazing. 7, create and support development with pathways to high performance and pursuit of excellence for Indigenous athletes and coaches. And we heard from Richard in terms of got a whole bag full of medals. Same with John Belancher, who was our first honorary president for the North American Indigenous Games. But we don't separate the so-called able athletes from the persons with disabilities. We put them together. And a quick story in the Victoria Games, I think it was, in the 400-meter run, the girl who was leading the race, about 10 yards from the finish line, yards, I don't know what it should be meters, I guess. It's probably my age. But she stopped, and the stands were full of her cheering her on, keep going, keep going. But what she did was she turned around and she was waiting for the girl that was second to reach her. When she took her hand and they ran across the line together. And that was just made to witness that. 8, celebrate and raise the profile for Indigenous athletes and coaches and their achievements. For Indigenous youth are inspired by and connected to positive role models. And let me pause here by acknowledging creator also of this conference, Dr. and hosted the first people there with them to organize, bring us together in a new learning situation where academic expertise is intermingled with the physical activities. So thank you for what you're doing to inspire us as role models. 9, through relationship building, strengthen sports networks, and enhance sport coordination for sport with Indigenous people. And lastly, ensure accountability and establish systems for ongoing monitoring and evaluating progress in implementing and actions on this declaration. We invite everyone to support and implement this declaration and consider it as a part of a global campaign to advance peaceful coexistence and reconciliation. We call on all sport organizations, institutions, governments, games organizers, individuals, and Indigenous peoples to work together, support and implement the spirit and action of this declaration. Well, I don't know what will happen with that. I went to the UN last week. If you can find yourself supporting it, just go ahead and do it. The second story I want to tell you about includes Richard and Ron and others. As an ambassador for Paralympics, I challenged the president of both the Paralympics internationally and the Paralympics in Canada to begin to include us in their events. And I'm not quite satisfied yet in terms of where we're at with that. So the program I'm going to talk about, it's going to sound like, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you. Because this is free. Set up by the Canada Sports Hall of Fame, and it's about the role models. On August 9th of 2021, in honor of the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, Canada Sports Hall of Fame launched the Indigenous Sports Heroes Education Experience. This multimodal learning experience for grades kindergarten to grade 12 shares the truth, experiences, and stories of Indigenous Hall of Famers and Tom Longboard Award winners who have made immense contributions to this country. And you cannot argue against that. Richard didn't get an opportunity to observe, share with us the challenges and the chief himself the challenges it takes to compete at the elite level. So we've got this program that we're going out to schools to show the students the Indigenous Hall of Famers. The resource was developed in collaboration with Indigenous Hall of Famers and their families, and honors the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's call to action 87, 62, 63, 66, 67, and 68. Any bingos? And aims to educate and inspire youth by amplifying the remarkable stories of the Indigenous sport heroes inducted into Canada Sports Hall of Fame, featuring 360-degree artifacts, photos, videos, and written text. The resources provided at no cost to schools aiming or arming educators with curriculum-aligned educational input activities and lesson plans developed by Indigenous educator Crystal Clark, offering entry points to learning 14 Indigenous languages. The educational experience connects youth to Indigenous ways of knowing and being through the journeys of Indigenous role models. The resource is not only inspiring youth through stories of resilience and grace in the face of remarkable adversity, but educating people of all backgrounds on Indigenous ways of knowing and being, and amplifying Indigenous stories, perspectives, and languages. Leveraging sport as a lens to honor truth and the path towards reconciliation. There's so much learned through role models in sport, utilizing sport as a powerful vehicle. We believe this resource directly supports education, health, and wellness. And so far, we've had over 700,000 website hits on indigenouseheroes.ca. Let me say that again once. Check it out. Indigenouseheroes.ca. Since we launched the initiative in August 2021. There's over 1,000 schools engaged in this project already. 110,299 youth have been reached, all 13 provinces and territories. So if you get a chance to look at this about the Indigenous Hall of Famers in Canada Sports Hall of Fame, it's free to our teachers, bring it to your classroom, and learn about the outstanding contributions people have taken to and made to sports history here in Canada. So with that, thank you very much, and I'm sorry so much for your time. I think Randy, wait.
I have lots to say. Landed in Montreal, and so we have 7 minutes to give next connection. So this running through the hall, I realized. So, but I had all that time there because 3 days went by, and the 4th day is when I was to present, and never teachers did sweat. So every day I kept going back and forth to the airport, finally at the night, 11 hours, but we had so much fun. But what really mentioned here is that, you know, you read a lot of documents. Sometimes you get people say, "Oh, I don't this," but read it because this is what we've been doing in the society for First Nation people, but it all has a connection to sport from our own experiences. And one thing I would say that how many of you are aware there's there's that one S that you can S and make it. Because we were never recognized as. So that's something to really consider as we think and talk about our lost outcomes of the renovation process. But it was like it was impressed by me like one language. And every 2 weeks. Faith and life. Think about how thankful we should be for a lot of our ancestors that were like 1 years. I would do stories about my own experience. Probably being a lead actually, but because the one thing I did see that when I was saying and doing this, there's a God out there. If I can knock my way out of this, I will do whatever I can. That's what I did. I was walk away from it. And I was thinking about that. I'll go do a chat. But I think for me, it's creation we'll talk about is discriminating. Is number of residential school. Is that what we're working? What's ironic about mine is my number is everything resonates, everything lies that for me. So I'm preparing to write my dissertation. The first time I came up was seed in 1969. That's right, I'm sorry. Everything just kept pushing in that direction. Because I remember the first day of school, I never mentioned it like this. I was just terrified how I would speak as Cree. And just I did that district of this growing up as a kid, it's beautiful out there. I went outside, I was just strapped outside like this. But one thing I did see at the time, and I had a teacher, started yesterday. He advised us that he didn't job by us. So the last time he checked, Dr. Sharder, I was inspired to play hockey. Fun. That's talking and I was kind of listening. Jerry told me about a couple years ago, she did lying. But it inspired me. She said, bring it on 3 holes. So I wrote them down. It's something so interesting. Do what I accomplished, but the one thing that's interesting about this whole experience of mine is that I came back to the very same school that I attended residential school to be a teacher. And I would think about that. After my wife had to see me walk out the door, and came home 11 o'clock, and I was just committed to that. Today, Ermineskin School has one of the best sports programs. I had to really fight because when I remember going to my first league in the district athletic association, they had banned Ermineskin School or like oh, you guys have never joined this team because we've had so many problems with fights and everything going on, smash windows like that. I didn't know what was happening. But I said, you know what, I'm really committed to help out. And we got in, the first year we were at probation. And we had, what was unique about our members in Ermineskin alone, we had some of our members that lived in the US. And during their off season, guess what they were so good at? Craftsmanship and basketball. They would cross over the line and come to our school. When that season was over, they would come back. But what was happening is that when I first started recruiting coaches and they didn't have a coach. They're being key 99. They had a hard time being constant 7-9. So that after that halfway through the school year, we had another meeting and said, oh, we're going to change the rules. After the first half, you gotta let the air team cross over. When they cross over, as it's followed, they got maybe 1 yard over. Like I said, they didn't start operating manners. That's unfortunate. That was so much experience. But we really grew to that level. We just be here, and I just watched. You know, and actually, one time I used to bike to work. I drive my mountain bike to work here. School. I was parked right by the door. And I noticed one day I was there, had all my classes on, and one of the kids was he was obese, overweight, no drive, and he just lay on the stage. I don't want to get him over there. This, you know, I started to get concerned. Finally, I kind of thought, you know, I got to reach this boy somehow. So I leave the bike closer to me right now. Finally, one day, without realizing, so all of a sudden I see them as we're doing our basketball or whatever it was. I was riding around. This is Jim Mason with my mountain bike. About a month later, all of a sudden he started bringing balls. He got his clothes to change into, and he was about 300 plus pounds. He's got that. But that's what inspired me. I said, you know, there's other ways that we have to innovate. The things that we do, we have to be creative, but at the same time encourage the students to take part in certain things. Today, where there's such a good high five, being in no shape, and you know, I'm 61 years old, so I'm doing all that stuff with these young kids. But I still look at that kind of struggle. What movies are sharing about? Yeah, it's boring. It may seem like boring text, but people are reading this national sports world, and they probably do need to recognize the first. And we need to encourage them to take part, that they have every right to be part of the sport. Right? We do the governmental stuff. I'm fortunate to be part of that. We have in the work meetings of what the microphones are doing with national chief. That's what we can do. We can give voice to people and help them bring, I guess, important points to a conversation that we have to inspire, encourage, but also promote. But one thing that happens is that it's exciting. So when we think about that, we're learning so much as one. That's something I thought. She said, we normally do that, but I come back to my baby that sweet stuff around. And I'm always thinking about check myself. But there's one thing that she did say, always be with be around people that have their hearts. So now this feedback is about a weekly process. But the third story I'm sharing, really, I shared that with once and our council. I used to clean my own gyms. Speak because I always thought it was really clean to my students. Another class. So what was happening that the teachers were unfortunate. Send the kids were not doing their classes for example. Oh, they're taking to the gym. I said, I kept wondering why you guys are punishing them the gym. I think that gym is the worst place to be. It should be the happiest place that they should be looking forward. But one thing was this one girl one day she come over and she have her head down in the air. You could never see her eyes. And she would come and say, well, she was never taught me, so grab a mom, let's start training upstairs, we can help you do this. But one thing I always tell you after that is, at that time, you get away with it, no, but it's my own way and encourage that. But one day, and she made a habit of she would do that on purpose. I told her to come and sit down. I want to read this book, but I'll speak up for a little while. And she would do that. And about a month and a half later, a very engaging inside story. It's meant to be curious about this student. Every day, pretty well. Stay away from home. And she said, you know what? She kept out books. And we know she doesn't read books. Well, can we monitor it? But you know what she was doing? She was having her own society. And what she was doing at the time is that she kept all those books inside her baby, outside her house. And at about 7 o'clock in the morning, she said, I had everything, I had the rope all around my neck, and the books were like, yes, I was just gonna kick them off and end it all. And she said, it's like her, think about that. And as she was about to do that, all of a sudden the bus weren't ready. And all of a sudden this became her. Just about to kick the books off. You know, said, yeah. So not about what this is not our secret anymore. Counselors today, this young girl is successful. Yeah, one day I'll be good for her. But she yes, she always comes over. Here's my dad. They got these. If you ever give up, we hear about these stories, but there's something of backstory behind it we don't know. And one of our elders always told me, he said, when you look at a child, it's was a son, or maybe now college. He said, you look at that child with a their past, they're walking to you, think about that. You're going to touch a father and mother that's so long. You know, anything I've done in the past, and for me, it's important. I know I've reached a level of success I am, and now I'm working on certain things that are leading me to other exciting things. As I'm reading pictures here, and I said that before I'm living those how difficult it should be. But I do just love the support. And this issue has something he said, "Oh, be great from that." Yeah. But like I said, this is encouraging. But this young girl, like I said, one day I said, what's give me another meeting. The courage to do what's not top up and you need to do because that's so this is what we do. And that's what, like I said, we're privileged to be where we're at because some people that didn't go through a time struggle, lost loved ones along the way that have fought the fight for us, and they have to dedicate to the mark on Wednesday. I hope everyone is on Thursday at the time on London to meet with because I was the Prime Minister about 2 months ago. I said, you need to recognize that people, we have to be part of that coordination. What do you mean? Significant. There's a time where I said, I want to go out there and fight for our rights. But we had only been way back in 2000 when we went to the team and said, we as diplomatic basis. I've always tried to maintain that because that's important for us. Because we want to just start running out of our knowledge and we set an example that we do. So I learned to be, but that's what's important that I read that. When I started in 1969, a year before that, they had shut off the electric fence. Those are Europe. But I remember the school and I didn't make shopping that I really didn't see it. I want that. They are you don't see that argument all the time. But like I said, our experience can help a lot of people, but we can see what all these things and inspire and encourage, but also improve situations, improve our lives. So I want to thank you, each and every one of you, that we sit here, but we 2003, I gave my key to my brother. I didn't want to lose another brother. And this past in August, I was told that we are globally even see high financial bills. I've lost 18 pounds already. My numbers. Like I said, we have to look after ourselves. So things are getting faster and faster. Trying to keep up. But I love to believe that when the ice on purpose. January, every 3-4 days a week, there's a line of it. Chase people away. I'm safe. I feel bad doing that, but that's just we have to dedicate viewers to encourage others. So, but like I said, it's just a part of what we're doing. It's so important for us to read documents. So on September, I decided to go back and issue my PhD studies. Reason why I had a job out of it is because I'm cheap. But the one course when they found 250 unmarked graves and candles, guess what course I was taking? Are you kidding me? I tried for 2 weeks. And the government said, I can't do this. I can't. This is it's triggered some things. But that's part of our giving and that's just important to remember that we have a part of this society. A certification, maybe we have an important aspect for other generations that all of one that's just we have to start managing part because we have to reach here and our elders. That's that that's what I study was for it. I would inspire. I think you're not so tough, you know, I
These are blankets that mean treasures of our ancestors. So I want to thank you so much for honoring us today and sharing all your teachings. Thank you, Dr. Wilton Littlechild, for always being a legacy for us and a great mentor. Thank you, Chief Randy Ermineskin, for being like a big brother and giving back everything we have to our people. And I will make you carry it, but I also have a gift certificate or a presenter certificate for you. Well, that was a great article, and I just tell you how much this morning has meant to all of us. It's been a beautiful day, and I want us to continue. We do have our traditional canoe journey. We need some support out there to help get the canoe in the water, and also there are some individuals who might need some help getting into the canoe. So if there's some people who go down and help Elder Fred Roland now. And we'll probably just start a little bit late. We're not going to take a big break, only 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. Cook Shannon. Yes, Santa? Oh, moving on the shirt backs. Need help. So every chair, we're going to sit in the chair, we can just take it and go back to the wall. And try not to thread the chairs. Please, thank you.
Yeah, we can move it a little bit back. Wall there. Just the line there.
What's happening now?
Testing, testing.
That's the thing.
You hear the audio when I'm speaking on Zoom.
What time are you presenting at?
I have to.